Hello and welcome to another episode of Video Game Logic. Today's episode was recorded on August the 31st, 2021. I'm your host, gaming psychologist, and with me, as always, my hate fluffer.
Hello, Commander. It's Caffeine Rage.
On today's show, we will be discussing our Gameclub game for the month of August. That is XCom Enemy Unknown. We'll let you know what the next Gameclub game is going to be for September. We're going to have a couple of news articles that were presented to us on Discord, so those are going to be in the community corner. Roblox, Shenanigans, and Mass Murder, and some gaming restrictions come and go. Finally, if time allows, we will have a Steam Discovery queue. Depends on how sleepy I am in 2 hours from now, most likely. Timestamps will be in the show notes following their respective topics. Hello.
Hello.
Boy, we got some good Franken content from this one, discussing more or less the same things we were last year at this point in time in relation to the COVIDs, and then I bitched about Acer, who suck right now. I'm mad at them, but you'll get that in a Franken episode, relatively speaking, in the near future.
Well, it depends on how much you fall apart.
Right. Well, I mean,
or I get flooded. I mean, let's be honest.
Or I get flooded. Granted, I'm probably fine. I've said this before. Like, as far as elevation goes for my local area, I'm decently high up. So if the flood gets to me, like, I'm truly fucked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much the same. It might knock out the bridge, but I'll be high and dry. More than one way, I guess.
Yeah. But, yeah.
Let's just put it this way. I'm out of the floodplain.
Yeah.
So there is that.
I do have to brave leaving my house on a hill to take my kid to school in the morning and then go into work.
To your sexy sexist people, right?
My sexy sexist people. Yeah, I guess for anyone who follows me on Twitter, I posted a tweet that was talking about how the boomers in my life that I know are the most sexist people that I know. But it more than one person responded to that tweet and was like, I thought you said like sexiest. I'm like, yeah, I kind of get it. I get why that you would say that about something that I said. Yeah. No, that checks out. I was not mad at all. But no, it was sexist. Two people in my office are extremely sexist, both towards men and women. And don't even get me started on trans people and non-binary people and etc. Just to the two, let's say, classic genders. That's probably wrong too. Someone will correct me. But, to the conservative view of what gender is, sexist towards both of them. And it was just like they were out in full force today. Sexism about like me and one of the other dudes in the office, about like, men just can't not explain things, can they? It's like I wanted to say, I didn't say, but I wanted to say, you asked me a fucking question, bitch. I answered your question. What do you mean men can't just not explain things? But then, being sexist towards other women, making like, pointing out, like changes in weight and stuff. Like when my boss, she's like 55 or 56. She told a story and like it was not important to the story at all. But she was like, yeah, I was in this class in college and the professor must have been like a 450-pound woman. And then just like goes on and nothing in the story related to the weight of the woman, which probably still would have been a sexist, like fat phobic thing to say. But it just like, it never came up again. And I'm like, why would you do that? And it's like, oh, she's fat. It's like, I'm fat. That my weight, anyone's weight is not necessarily important to the story. But it's just like, yeah, they were out in full force today. They were in bad moods.
What, were they out of horse dewormer?
My boss is fully vaccinated. It's so weird, like the walking contradictions that some of these people are in my office, because it's like...
Do you ever just want to hand out Olympic medals for mental gymnastics?
Oh my god, yes. Because in one breath, it's like, for my boss. In one breath, it's like, oh yeah, I'm vaccinated. Everyone should be vaccinated. I don't understand people who aren't vaccinated. And then we'll say something like ignorant immediately afterwards. And it's like, wait a second. Which side of the fence are you on? Which team do you play for?
I just don't want my Star David.
Oh God. Let's not go there. That made me so sad when I saw that. That was my mother stooping to a new low, comparing COVID to the Holocaust on Facebook. New low. But I don't it makes me even more sad somehow. I don't want to talk about that anymore. Let's go talk about that.
Or you could tell her that I'm gonna make some more ice cream, so
I could do that. Let's go talk about games instead. Skipping over games we played this week, going straight to Gameclub. So for anyone who is new to the podcast,
we're sorry.
I'm not. Welcome to the madness. We try to engage. This year has been the worst for it, just because of how much stuff has happened. But typically, we try to engage in monthly game clubs where we play the same game at the same time for a whole month and announce to the audience what we're playing. So if they want to play along, they can. And for this month, we played one that I think had been on our list for a while.
Yeah.
It was XCom Enemy Unknown, which was the
/ Enemy Within.
Yes. Which was the, I don't know, reboot, I guess is the correct word, of the XCom franchise that came out about 10 years ago.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. And just shy of 10 years. North America was October 9th, 2012.
Yeah. This is one I think both of us had played before, although me more than you.
I've never beaten it in my gameplay in the for Gameclub. Actually, it's been my best game. It's only my 8th game total because it keeps track internally of how many times you failed.
Yeah.
But it's also me changing tactics because being ironically a little less careful about protecting my guys and going for more firepower early on. And pretty much anytime somebody gets maimed, okay, fine, off with your limbs.
Right. I have played. How many times have I beaten it? I beat it when it first released. I got it on Xbox 360, and I beat it once there, and then I've had it on PC for a while, and I've beaten it once on PC with all of the DLC. What I played on Xbox 360 was the base game. Playing it on PC was with all the DLC. And then I have started numerous campaigns on higher difficulties or using mods, like in particular the Long War mod, which we'll talk about some of the mods that we used or did not use here in a minute. But yeah, so I've beaten the game twice and have played it a lot outside of that. I played it some with a controller this time around. Keyboard and mouse, definitely the way to go. Like, I wasn't expecting it to not be, but it's one of those things playing it on Xbox. It's like, I remember playing this on with a controller. How well does it play with a controller? And I mean, it's playable, but certainly...
there's a couple of times, especially on some maps that have multiple levels, that even with mouse and keyboard, it could be frustrating.
Yeah, to get to click exactly where you want to.
Uh-huh.
But
if I was playing Iron Man mode, which is no takebacks essentially, I can't imagine some of the number of restarts I would have to done, because I would have lost very important, or if not my entire squad, because I misclicked and my character jumped down a couple flights of a building and triggered like 2 or 3 pods.
Yeah. So generally speaking, XCOM, for anyone who doesn't know, is a tactical sort of squad-based strategy or turn-based strategy game. The game is kind of divided into 2 parts. There's a base building and sort of strategy management layer, although that's pretty light, honestly. And then the bulk of the game, which is the tactical gameplay, where you've got a small squad. Even at its maximum expanded size, it's still a relatively small squad. And you're doing missions on a map, typically fairly similar objectives: kill targets or capture something or destroy something. Aside from a few sort of key missions throughout the story, although they all still basically boil down to destroy the thing or capture the opponent. There's a tech tree as you progress through the game. You can research new technologies based on alien stuff. Some of it feels near future. Most of it is extremely sci-fi. Obviously aliens. So you start the game
The
with
Predators.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you start the game with, you know, sort of equivalents of modern day technology. There are no licensed weapons, so you've got like generic assault rifle, generic shotgun, generic sniper, etc. And then you end the game with like lasers and you end the game with plasma weaponry. You get lasers along the way, but you end the game with plasma weaponry based on alien tech. So, it's definitely not shying away from anything sci-fi, which I like.
Yeah, and the thing about the research tree is that it's very ambiguous on what you're researching. You'll sometimes get a hint on what it's going to unlock, but unless you know what's coming up, you're just kind of shooting in the dark, which is a bit frustrating because there's no way to have an overarching idea of what you're working towards. And that was kind of my problem in the beginning whenever I first played this game ages ago, was that, okay, well, it talks about, maybe this breakthrough may give you better weapons, which usually it does. Or I could just research better armor and, be able to survive. So I would go for survival, but that would give the enemy another turn to gang up, and the dice are bullshit. It's
go on.
The game has essentially anti-streak mechanics in it, so that if you take enough bad shots in a row, eventually you'll get a good one, no matter how bad the odds are. Whenever you take a shot or use an ability that's not just point and click, there's a behind-the-scenes dice roll based on a lot of factors: range, cover, height advantages, because the maps can have various levels, abilities, that sort of thing. And you'll get a percentage to hit based off of that. Well, XCOM is infamous for missing on 95% rolls because, right?
Yeah.
Which I know. 95% still means 5% chance to miss. But there's that kind of visual disconnect whenever your guy misses and he's shooting in the complete opposite direction.
Yeah.
They could have really done
weird thing where that, like, it's like, oh, miss, but it's like, but you hit him. Like, it hit him. What do you mean miss?
Yeah, or the miss hits somebody else, but it doesn't count that.
Yeah.
Or even better is whenever the miss goes so far off track, it actually hits a mission critical thing, and you either fail the mission or you lose meld, which is a mechanic of the enemy within expansion that I guess we'll talk about in a little bit, right?
Yeah. But that's sort of the tactical gameplay. You're on a map, you're doing objectives. It's got sort of a action point system is wrong. Everyone can do depending
two actions.
Two actions basically, unless you have an ability that lets you do more. But generally speaking, you can do two actions, which can be
firing. It usually ends your turn.
Yeah,
or ends that movement phase for that character.
Yeah, you can move once and then use an ability, or move twice, and it gives you like movement ranges, and it does a good job displaying information visually most of the time. Like if your movement is blue, then that's considered like a normal movement. If it's yellow, then you're sprinting, and that's using both of your movement action points, or both your action points on movement. There's certain, like we said, certain abilities that might let you, like for the assault class has got run and gun, which lets you, if you activate that ability, then you can sprint and shoot. So move twice and then shoot.
Yeah, or another good example is the sniper I think last talent or very near it is in the zone where if you kill a flanked or uh, a enemy that's not in cover, shooting does not consume an action. So with a particular mod I have, which whenever you discover what they call pods of enemies, essentially enemies tend to run around in groups. Depending on the type of enemy, it's usually 2 to 3, maybe 4 enemies. Like mutants, big burly. Looks like they should be hanging out with Rex from Mass Effect.
Yeah.
They usually run around in pairs of 2, maybe 3. Chrysalids may go up to 4 or maybe 5, which will zombify things that they kill, but they'll go in from melee, so you have a chance to finish them. Well, whenever you discover a pod in the base game, they get essentially a free action immediately, so they all scatter and go to cover. And I find that so irritating that I actually downloaded a mod and installed it that removed that free action.
Yeah.
And it can really balance things, but at the same time, the way that they would do it, especially for things that run in from melee or go into stealth mode, the stalkers, they'll immediately just go invisible, and then you have to sit and wait in Overwatch for a couple turns, when sometimes that's not an option.
Yeah, if the mission that you're on has a timer, you can't really waste time sitting around, overwatching. You gotta move towards your objective.
Or, gotta get that meld, which is also on a timer, which we'll get to that.
Yep. Let's see. Other than the tactical gameplay in the base building and in sort of quote unquote strategy layer, as the XCom, defenders of Earth from the alien menace.
Well, as long as you're the one mission that they choose to take that day, right?
Right. You have to manage panic levels for various countries. And so if their panic level gets high enough, they pull out of XCOM, you lose their funding. And if they all pull out, you lose the game, because it's like everyone basically surrendered to the aliens. You build your base, power, science, research labs, engineering workshops to build stuff, to train your soldiers, satellite uplinks so that you can launch more satellites. The satellite coverage for countries is for airspace.
And also so gets extra bonuses. You start off with 1 on the home continent that you're on, but if you cover a continent, all the countries in it, you get the...
I can't quite remember what all of those bonuses are because of playing Long War. That's clouded my judgment or my memory
Africa
of which one
is all in, so you get a bonus on your overall funding. I want to say North America is bonus to your aircraft. I should be able to just pull it up because I'm here on the wiki. So, okay, so here it is. North America air and space, 50% reduction on the cost and maintenance of aircraft. South America, we have ways, instant nuke interrogation and autopsy research. Pretty much pointless by the time you get it, if you're not starting with it. Expert knowledge, laboratories and workshops cost 50% less to build and maintain. Future combat, that's Europe, Asia, future combat, 50% discount on foundry projects and officer training school training. That's a weird sentence. And Africa's all in, 30% increase in monthly income. And to get the bonus reward, you have to have between 2 and 4 satellites in a region. Or 2 and 5. Europe has 5 countries in it. Or no, 4, sorry. United Kingdom is 1, but it's on 2 lines here because, right?
Yeah. But in building your base, all of the buildings get adjacency bonuses. So if you put, for example, 2 satellite uplink together, next to each other, then you get an extra, free satellite you can launch, or free space for a satellite you can launch.
Mm-hmm. And that also works vertically.
Yeah.
But the thing is that you gotta be really careful about it, and also if you're not playing in classic or harder, the officer training school is an unfortunate place to be able to put another satellite uplink.
Yeah.
And if you remove it, you lose all the bonuses from that, like having 2 extra XCom people, right?
Which is very important. The default squad size is 4, and you can get it up to 6.
Yeah, plus all the extra bonuses that come along with the officer training school. So, yeah, right.
Yeah. But that generally describes the broad strokes of the gameplay. Building a base, doing missions, and succeeding at them to keep
And
your countries in
getting screwed over
XCOM,
by RNG,
and
and
then getting
occasion
screwed over by
and
RNGesus.
occasionally you'll have the council. So that's the kind of shadowy global government figure that is funding the XCOM project.
Yep, which, in case you were
Contact,
wondering, both you personally or anyone listening, and that's the Honest Movie Trailers guy.
yeah. uh, well, I wasn't really wondering, but
Yep, nope, that's actually him. Not just someone with a similar voice. So that's
well,
cool. He's also
no,
in XCOM 2. He does the voice of the same guy in XCOM 2.
mhm. uh, they'll contact you with a specialized mission. Some of it's from the DLC, some of it's just special contracts, and they typically have better rewards. So they may give you extra scientists, extra engineers, which come into rebates for whenever you complete foundry projects, whenever you complete workshop projects, whenever you research something that speeds it up. They may reduce panic level. They may just give you flat out extra cash, which is always nice. May reduce panic, which is also really nice.
Yeah.
But they typically are more specialized and more story oriented. So, where to go from here, right?
Yeah.
Kind of general thoughts about the game. Now that we've talked about the mechanics of it.
Yeah, well, do you want me to talk about the ending of the game at all? Because I've beaten
I
it,
mean,
but you have not.
I know somewhat of the ending, but I'll leave it up to you if you feel like it has to be talked about.
You know what? I'll hold off. I don't feel like it really has to be talked about. So I'll hold off, and then if you want to talk about it when you beat it, if you
Okay.
keep playing it, we could always talk about it in another
Assuming I don't
episode.
fall
But
off of it again and go do something else, right?
yeah, broad strokes, I like it a lot. I have always liked it, but the things that I wish that it did differently, XCOM 2 fixed a
Or
lot of those
Xenonauts.
problems. Or Xenonauts, definitely. But XCOM 2 fixed a lot of those problems with XCOM 1. Better sort of control methods, better feedback on what you're doing and what does what, a little bit more weapon and equipment variety, a little bit more variety in the classes, the ability to be sneaky and sort of stealth around a map and pick up enemies' line of sight as long as you're not being spotted, so that you can avoid triggering pods like that if you're careful, at least not until the moment where you have to. Too many missions are on timers in XCOM 2, but there are less things in the missions that operate on timers, like the meld does, for example. But I like XCOM 1 a lot, but it is showing its age at this point.
Especially since it doesn't show a lot of info. Like, there was several times that I would get in a situation where I'm yelling at the screen, "Why can't you shoot him? He's right there."
Yeah.
And there's no information of is there a line of sight issue? Is it a range issue? Is it the the soldier being a dumbass and a graduate of the Stormtrooper Marksmanship Academy?
Yeah. Whereas XCOM 2, on that exact point, like, it gives you more feedback on why somebody can't shoot somebody, whether it's line of sight or a range issue, or you didn't realize you were out of ammo for a second because the UI isn't always the most helpful. There's some UI fixes the second one. So yeah, Yeah.
Yeah, which is a little bit of a shame that there's literally only three weapon tiers as well. Uh, yeah, once you get to plasma weapons, yeah, you're pretty much in-game weaponry.
Yeah. That's another thing. There's more weapon tiers in XCOM 2, and there are special one-off weapons that have some pretty big advantages while also having some pretty strong penalties. Um, so, you can decide if you want to use specialty weapons um, in XCOM 2. And I think there's only 3 weapon tiers in XCOM 1. I believe there's 5 in XCOM 2, plus there's melee weapons, which is its own separate thing in XCOM 2.
Yeah, and honestly, some of the stuff in XCOM 1 I found pretty much useless, like gas grenades. Never found a reason to use one of those.
Yeah. What did gas grenades do in XCOM 1?
They're poison.
Okay. Not useless in XCOM 2, because they do more damage. So if you want to poison an enemy, it's worth your while to wait a few turns for the damage to kick in, because they do more damage.
Yeah. There's also the needle grenade, which is a bigger blast radius, the same damage as your base grenade, but it doesn't destroy cover, which honestly, half the time, that's what I use the grenades for anyway.
To destroy cover?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to talk about Long War for a second. I guess you could talk about your mods as well. So I started the game with the Long War mod, and I've used the Long War mod a few times. The Long War mod is a huge overhaul and rebalance mod to the game that fixes some of the problems that we were just talking about. Adds more weapons, more weapon tiers, more equipment slots,
More
and
Sky
customization,
Rangers.
more Sky Rangers. By default in the base game, you can only have one Sky Ranger, period.
Which feels weird, doesn't it?
Yes. Whereas in the Long War, you can have up to 2 Sky Rangers per continent. So you can launch multiple missions at once. You start with 40 XCOM troops, and your maximum that you can have is 100. So you start with more, you can have more troops, because the game expects you to be doing multiple consecutive deployments all over the globe, like you're actually fighting an invasion.
Like you're a global defense force instead of... Honestly, XCOM, at least the first one, it feels like you're a local defense force posing as a global one, because you only have the one Sky Ranger. You only handle one mission at a time, and leave 2. Whatever, like a terror alert pops up, it's you have a choice of 3 missions where you can only field 1, and the other 2 are just left to rot. It always felt very off to me.
Yeah. But yeah, the Long War mod gives you more Sky Rangers, so you can do more missions at once, more troops, more tech, more customization. Makes the game a lot more difficult. Buffs up the AI's, intelligence, better decision making and stuff. You start with more troops by default. In the base game, you start with 4, can get up to 6. In Long War, you start with 6, you can get up to 8. So right away, you're facing more enemies at once. It adds more classes. It does make the game a lot longer. By
the name.
Yeah, by extending the tech tree, how many battles you're gonna fight, and all of that jazz. So the first XCOM you can beat within, I don't know, 4, if you're really, going for it, within like 4 to 5 in-game months. The game starts in, what is it, March?
Yeah,
of its year.
March.
You can beat XCOM by the end of the year without having to try too hard.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how far I am in. I've just done the first base assault, and I knew that there was likely going to be others because it was a little too simple. Which you said that there was more.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's things are stabilizing a little too well, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But the thing is that, going up to that next difficulty level is quite the bump as well.
Yep. Long War's normal difficulty is probably about as difficult as hard, um, easily as difficult as hard in the base game. But anyways, like I had played for like 4 in-game months, and I had just gotten like laser weapons. Like I was struggling. I was on the struggle bus, and I lost. I put about 15 hours into that game, and I lost. And so then I uninstalled Long War, not because I was like mad at it or whatever, but I was like, I don't have enough time to start another playthrough on Long War for Gameclub. So then I installed a couple of the mods that you have, which is Commander's Choice, which lets
Mhm.
you pick what class or what specialization your troops
Yeah,
get whenever they rank up the first time.
which is pretty much, in my opinion, should have been base game.
Yeah.
Uh, the way it is in the base game is that whenever you hire new people, they're considered rookies, and whenever they get their essentially first blood, you only get experience by killing something though. So, which is a little bit annoying whenever the rookie keeps missing because right.
Yeah. Long War fixes that. Uh and so does XCOM 2. Your soldiers get a base level of experience by going on a mission and coming back. It's negligible in the late game, but early on, whenever you're trying to get your rookies up to squaddies so that they can get their specialization and their first big stat boost from leveling up, it matters.
Yeah, especially if you have a sniper that's at like 60 or 70 some kills already
Yeah.
in June. But you're able to choose your class. I have a map pack that just puts in more maps because that's an issue that XCOM had just in general was that you see enough of them. You go to the same maps over and over again, so it starts to get a little bit samey. And
Yeah.
this is just a pack of community-made maps. And like I said, removing the free turn for the aliens to be able to scatter, go into cover, start rushing you, or just turn into visible bastards.
Yeah. But yeah, I used Commander's Choice, that mod, with stopping them from moving when you discover them. And then I used a map pack as well.
Yeah, you could only go to somebody, grocery stores, right?
Yeah. Again, all things that XCOM 2 fixed. There are still a limited number of maps in XCOM 2. It's not like they're infinite. But there's variety for multiple biomes because you've got like a mobile base in XCOM 2 and you travel all over the world. And so if you go to, North Russia, you're going to be getting snow and tundra maps. Whereas if you go to the Midwest in the United States, you get sort of more deserty type maps. So that helps somewhat. But anyways.
So, shall we talk about the DLC so we could stop teasing about Meld?
Yeah, go ahead and talk about
Okay,
the DLC.
so there are there's a handful of just kind of cosmetic or very inconsequential DLC, and then there's Enemy Within. Hang on, I'm just bringing up the store page. So there's an Elite Soldier pack, which is just extra customization. There's the Slingshot pack, which is a set of council missions that actually are, if you could survive them, are highly overpowered because that's how I got a plasma sniper rifle in like month 2.
Yeah.
I knew it was coming because I'd played it before. So I set up to be able to capture a mutant to be able to unlock the plasma research early. So my squad wasn't even fully decked out in laser gear, or was just starting to come up to it. And I captured a mutant and unlocked the plasma research. Right?
Yeah. Get those
But
in-game weapons early on.
Mhm. Well, it was part of my strategy, which seems to be working out. But the big one, the big DLC is Enemy Within. So there's 3 main components to this. One is the mech troopers. You're able to essentially mutilate your soldiers and turning them into cyborgs by chopping off their arms and legs and putting them in robotic suits.
Yep.
Downside is that they can't use cover anymore. The plus side is they don't really have to because they have absurd amounts of health before leveling up. They have some incredibly impressive talents that help with survivability and have massive amounts of firepower. There's genetic engineering, which is something I didn't mess with too much, but it allows you to alter 5 aspects of your soldiers' physiology. Make it so that it's harder to kill them. They're able to see better, to have a better chance to miss their enemy by a long shot. Bleed out slower if they get downed. They could actually some allows you to turn invisible if you're in full cover, out of line of sight of the enemy, to be able to go for flanking maneuvers. I mean, it's impressive, but it's also very expensive, and both of those require a resource called Meld, which we've teased a couple times, and they're on most of the council and story missions. There's usually 2 containers that you have to find on the map to be able to capture and get Meld from. They can be destroyed if you haven't collected them already. And you get 10 per, and I think a bonus of 5 if you get both. Or I could be mistaken on that one. And both the mech troopers and the gene mods require Meld to be able to use those different technologies, which are researched fairly early, but have to have specialized buildings in the base, which count as a workshop or a laboratory for the bonuses on connecting base facilities. Did you work with the gene therapy very much?
Not in this playthrough. I did them in a previous playthrough. The mech troopers, I think, are better overall.
Well,
you can combine gene mods with psionic soldiers.
Yeah,
which
I hadn't gotten to psionics yet, which is base game, I believe. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's base game.
Yeah, it is.
But the thing is that you can't have gene therapy on mech troopers, and you can't have a psionic mech trooper as well, because that would just be fucking overpowered, right?
Yeah.
The bonus of the mech trooper is that if someone's gravely wounded, which could take better part of a month for him to heal up before you get officer training school stuff to reduce that timer. You just go in and start hacking away and make him a mech trooper.
Yeah.
But the downside of the mech trooper is that they earn experience at half the rate. So yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, I prefer mech troopers. Mech troopers are very good. Mm-hmm. They can't, since mech troopers can't do psionics, they can't meet the requirements for the end of game stuff that you need.
Yeah.
Because you do have to have at least one psionic soldier, which the psionic soldiers are good. Yeah, those abilities can get very, very powerful with how you're being dicked over throughout the whole game with the guys who can make your soldiers panic and shoot each other, or just mind control them. It's fuck you, I can do that now to you. And then the mind fray ignores armor, so that can be really useful against certain enemies. So, but that's the psionic soldiers are the last thing in the game.
Yeah, and I'm just getting to that in my playthrough.
Did you ever use what are the little robot things? I can't think of their names.
The scopes, or no, not the scope, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, they're the little robots that you can get that you
not
can
really,
get
honestly.
Soldiers. They're not super good until the later ones. Because there's 3 versions of them. They get more powerful, and the first one is honestly pretty useless. The second one's okay, and then the third one is good, but by the time you get to the third one, your soldiers and their equipment will already outclass it.
Yeah.
I never understood why those were in the game. It felt like they needed like another pass or two to make them more balanced.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, honestly, I think my first or second playthrough, I tried using them, and I just got wrecked because the mech soldiers, if they get injured, well, they are pretty much back at full health whenever they get back to base. Those they have to get repaired,
Yeah.
which now I'm trying to find what it is because it's what the hell is that? Because
They're like
right,
they're little drone tank things.
uh-huh.
Tank is an exaggeration. They're small. They're like
They
man
remind me of
sized.
the maps from Stargate.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, I was a big fan of Stargate, so SG-1, so.
So was I. I didn't even think about
Mhm,
that, but you're right. They absolutely are. They're probably inspired by that, I bet. I would be
mhm.
surprised if they weren't.
Yeah, now I'm definitely trying to find it, and let's go over to the Foundry projects because heavy weapon platform Shiv, super
Shivs. Yeah.
yeah, super heavy infantry vehicle, completely worthless.
Yeah. They might actually, I've never really used them in a long war. They might be useful in long war. The only benefit that they really have in the early game is that they provide cover. So your soldiers
Hmm.
can provide cover behind them. And that could be useful before you get decent enough armor. Like every cover bonus helps. But they're expensive.
Yeah,
At least in the early game. In the late game, they're not expensive. But like I said, comparatively, your soldiers are better. I think the one, if I remember correctly, the final Shiv that's a hover tank can like fly, so you can make it fly up to get that bonus. I believe. I could be misremembering that, but I feel like that's correct.
yeah. I'm just looking on here now, and it's just, I mean, there's just so much on the Shiv that you have to research to allow it to really do anything, right?
Yeah,
It's a shame because the Shiv is actually a neat idea, but it's just whew.
yeah. The Shiv definitely needed another balance pass to make it a little bit more useful in combat, or a little bit cheaper to make in
Yeah,
the early game.
to give you an idea, the Hover Shiv, the last version of it, it has about the stats of a mid rank soldier without not counting any class bonuses. But
Yeah,
it does have a fair amount of health, but nothing compared to a mech trooper. It feels like the mech troopers just completely outclass the Shivs in every single way.
yeah. Shiv or mech troopers are awesome. There are actual like robots in the second one that kind of replace the function of the mech trooper.
Mhm.
Shivs do not return.
And they will not be missed.
So yeah. Do you have anything else that you want to
Well,
say?
I didn't talk about the third thing in Enemy Within.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
th-
Oh,
so there,
Exalt?
yeah, Exalt, bunch of dickbags.
Yeah, Exalt are humans that have sided with the aliens and are working against you. And they've got their own series of missions that you undertake. Eventually you can wipe them out. But
And they actively work against you and steal resources, and then you have to send undercover agents and deal with them, which they've had some interesting missions, but at the same time, it's like I'd much rather be fighting aliens here. They're starting to become a joke because while they do have gene therapy and some rather extreme amounts of it, they never really progress beyond laser weaponry. And if you're running around with Titan armor, the high end armor, and plasma weapons, they are utterly fucked.
yeah. Exalt troopers are more or less the default enemies in XCOM 2. The canon for the game is that you lose the first XCOM. Like that's the canon ending for the series. The first game is actually that you lose.
Well, I've done it 7 times so far, so all right.
Very true.
You're welcome for setting up the next game in the series.
But yeah, I mean, the Exalt storyline was certainly some added content. New
It does.
enemies
It
and
does
stuff
feel
was
like it.
nice, but
Like they are a bit of a joke pretty quickly, though.
yeah,
And they become more of an annoyance than anything else, which is a little bit of a shame, honestly. I'm not sure if it's just uh, yeah, they wanted to focus more on like secondary content and not have something that takes that much of a focus off of the primary antagonists,
yeah,
or if that's exactly what they wanted for Exalt. They honestly, unless you really screw up, they never feel like much of a threat, honestly.
no,
Unless, on higher difficulties, they are, would presume. I mean, I'm only playing on normal, like difficulty 2 of 4.
yeah. I also only played on normal difficulty. I mean, this is one of those games where the harder you make it, the more the AI just cheats,
Yeah.
and I don't like that. I've never liked cheaty AI as the solution.
And you end up with a lot less resources as well. It's just, there was actually a breakdown of exactly what the difficulties did on here, I believe. I think you start off with a lot less, which doesn't make sense if you're supposed to be this elite. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Okay, so on normal, the base global panic starts at 0. XCOM HQ has 37 units of starting power with 25 available. Minor alien activity increases panic by 1 if left unchecked, with some events doing up to 3. Soldiers cost 10 XCOM bucks and start with 5 HP and gain an additional 1 from body armor. Alien AI is shackled. Aliens can make suboptimal actions and are less likely to use grenades and abilities. XCOM starts with a free satellite to deploy. Starting funding is 175 XCOM bucks, plus funding from other countries where XCOM HQ is located. And then you start getting crazy, where classic Global Panic starts at 8, 1 per location. XCOM HQ has 30 units of starting power. Alien Panic, alien activity causes 1 panic, but will at least 1 panic, but will often cause 2 or 3 if left unchecked. Soldiers cost 15 per and start with only 4 HP, plus get an additional 1 from body armor. Alien AIs uses grenades and special abilities much more frequently. All ranged aliens except sectoids receive a plus 10 aim and critical chance bonus. Sectoids only receive 10 critical chance bonus. Several aliens also receive additional HP, notably the health bonuses on outsiders and thin men, paired with their high accuracy. Like the first few months, especially more difficult, right?
yeah,
More aliens per pod. Satellite coverage produces fewer scientists and engineers per country. XCOM does not start with the officer training school because that makes a lot of sense. No free satellite unless the tutorial is played, and starting funding is $75 or 75 XCOM bucks instead of 175, plus funding from from the country XCOM is located in. And that just goes up to classic. Never mind impossible, where soldiers start with 3 HP. Practically worthless, right?
pretty much. Did you use any of the second wave options?
No.
Okay, there's not too many that are unlocked by default. There are mods that unlock more of the second wave options. Second wave options do a lot of different things to change the gameplay. Some, for example, there's one I forget the names of them, but there's one, for example, that if
you want to ask about any of them.
Well, there's one that, for example, whenever you win, you just get the meld on the map. You don't have to collect it. So if you just win, you collect all the meld on the map.
I think that's default, actually.
Is that default? Okay, maybe it turns it off then. There's one that randomizes your soldiers' starting stats. One that makes weapons do more variable damage. So, it might be +1 minus +1 So instead of doing like 3 to 5 damage, a weapon might do 2 to 6. There's ones that mix up the fog of war, or that make your soldiers like panic. I can't remember if it's called green mist or red mist.
Red Myst. As combat wounds degrade soldiers' aim and movement abilities for the remainder of the mission. Does not impact aliens.
There's one that it's like your soldiers get tired, and so to simulate that, their aim gets worse throughout the course of a mission. So, bunch of ones. A lot of them make gameplay harder. Some of them make it easier.
Oh, some of them. Okay, so on the impossible difficulty, depending on what difficulty you beat the game on, you unlock more second wave options, like you said. Impossible difficulty, war weariness, council funding decreases over time. E115, iridium degrades over time, which is a resource that you need pretty much constantly. Total loss, loses all soldiers' gear upon their death. And then there's alternate sources, double the power requirements to build facilities. Crazy, huh?
Yep. So, yeah. I don't have any more thoughts, I don't think. Do you have any other thoughts about XCOM?
The game does really good about the tension, but I think it's more just having to pay so much attention to, so many different things that I don't like to play it for long stretches because, it's, okay, now if I move here, here, and here, right?
Yeah.
And it might just be, having to worry about line of sight and, constantly trying to rotate soldiers to get, more than just my main elite squad leveled up. Which, good luck because, the sniper steals all the kills. Fucking kill stealer.
Very true. But the sniper is probably the best class in the game.
Snipers are nasty, even before mods. That, kind of unbalanced it towards the sniper. I mean, the fact that you could destroy cover with a grenade and then just kill an entire pod of enemies with a single sniper with the right power-ups is just horrendous. But yeah, I can't play it for long stretches just because of the tension, but it does say something about just how good the game is, though. Yes, it is old. Yes, it does show its age rather strikingly at times, particularly on the management side of things, where it's Fallout Shelter does a better job at base building, honestly, which is saying something, huh?
Well, yeah, but I mean that's a core element of Fallout Shelter, whereas it feels like an afterthought for XCOM.
True. There's some weird balance things, like we mentioned, like the shivs being practically useless unless you have like a complete wipe and you just happen to, have a couple kicking around. But overall, it is a very good game. It's one that I think is worth playing for a fan of turn-based strategy, especially ones that want to kind of get into squad-based stuff, because it's not overly difficult. It's not as crazy as kind of the jokes about it tend to make it, where it's the game is going to dick you over, you're going to lose over and over again. It still feels on the medium difficulty levels fair most of the time, and I think most of the time whenever it feels like it's dicking you over, it's because of those anti snowballing mechanics to try to prevent you from making an easy win. And the graphics just, it's telling you missed, but it's, making it look a lot more goofy than what it really should, right?
Yeah.
I do want to try Long War at some point, but, right?
Yeah.
We got other things to get to, like?
Right. Like our next Gameclub game. So, for the month of September, we are playing Call of Juarez Gunslinger. So we're going from a strategy game to a first-person shooter with an unreliable narrator.
West. Yeah, I absolutely love the narrator in this. I played it before. So this will be kind of a lazy month for me this time around because, right?
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to what you think about this game. Because I'm not sure how you feel about the Old West or first-person shooters just in general.
I like the Old West. I like first person shooters. I don't play very many first person shooters anymore. Um, Broadly speaking, so many first person shooters have become multiplayer focused.
Mhm.
I don't care about multiplayer unless it's like with friends. But, a good first person shooter with a fun story, I'm game. I'm in.
Yeah, which is becoming more and more rare, huh?
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and this, like I said, it gets interesting. So we'll see in 4 weeks with this one, huh?
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about some news topics.
Yeah, the
Presented to us.
community corner.
Indeed. So our first news topic, you editorialized the title a bit,
Yeah,
covering
combining
couple different articles.
a couple things from Roblox.
But yeah, Roblox shenanigans and mass murder.
Uh, so shall we talk about shenanigans first?
Sure, we can talk
This
about
was, I
shenanigans
think,
first.
were both these sent in by Jim or?
I don't know, but I could go look. Submissions.
Yeah,
Scrolling
Jim
up.
sent in the. Jim sent in both of these. I knew at least one. I found it.
Yeah.
So let's go the shenanigans. So essentially, Roblox is essentially kind of Minecraft only with a absolutely massive market on it, where people, and by people we mean kids most likely, create experiences, because if they call them games, they get in trouble with iTunes.
Right.
They create experiences that other people could go play on and spend money in their game, or sorry, experience. And if you get to a certain milestone, you're able to cash out. But there is just so many obstacles in the way of that it's absolutely ridiculous. For one, in order to cash out, you have to hit $1,000 worth of Roblox, of Robux.
Robux. Yeah.
But then they take a cut of that after they take a cut of everything else before that. So you get $350, right?
Yeah.
There's a video on this article that is enlightening, but also terrifying, that kind of ties up everything in a nice, 22-minute story. And there's this interview with this 12-year-old, and he is the most cynical, burnt-out game developer I've ever seen, and he's 12. And it's because he's been trying to deal with the Roblox community, where there's no discovery tools. So unless you're spending more money that you have to put into the system to bid on their ad spots that come up for auction, which, they're for auction. So Kara, guess who gets them? Oh, right, the people that are already making a ton of money. There's no way to be able to get money to have or players into your experience to make money to be able to fund your experience. It feels very multi-level marketing, doesn't it?
Oh yeah. Definitely. Those are the vibes that I got from it, and that was what was discussed on this previous week's Podquisition, where they talked about this in a bit more detail on there. And yeah, it does feel very MLM, because you got to spend more money in order to make any money, but the amount of money that you actually make is not comparable with the money that you spend.
Yeah, never mind the fact that they put the milestone to be able to cash out at all at such a high threshold, and then take so much of it.
Yeah. I can understand. I still think it's kind of bullshit, but I can understand there being a small milestone to cashing out, just to saving a little bit of hassle.
Small milestone is not $1,000 worth of Robux.
No, small milestone in my mind for this, with it primarily being younger people who are making anything off of it, would be like $50 maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just it makes me worry a lot about the next generation of game developers just getting burnt out and hurt by the system before they're even out of middle school.
Yeah, I hope I'm wrong, but it feels very much like the current games industry is killing the next generation of game developers.
Mm-hmm. And never mind the fact that what they're learning in this is proprietary stuff. The kid in this makes a very, very, very good point that you can't take your game and just go to Steam because it's in the Roblox community, and there's no way to export it out. So unless you learn to be able to build your game from scratch, which does not translate any of what you've learned from all the tools in game, you're essentially starting from scratch once again. Never mind the fact that, if you're building some sort of multiplayer thing, which supposedly a lot of the big experiences, just happen to be casinos, because of course they are, right?
Yep. Thankfully, my kid hasn't found any casinos, but I mean, I'll sit in the living room and watch him, play, out of the corner of my eye or while I'm doing something else.
So how many mass shootings has he been part of?
None, unless you count zombies. He's been playing some game that's like more or less like the zombies mode from Call of Duty, but with Roblox characters, only shittier. But I mean, I've got a shitload of parental controls set up for that stuff.
Yeah,
I'm not like, I am well versed in this. I don't expect to be able to keep him from ever seeing anything that I wouldn't approve for his age group. I'm mostly concerned about him not spending money without it going through me.
Yeah,
because I mean, he sees stuff and he wants to impulse buy. He's 7.
Mm-hmm.
Despite our best efforts to teach him impulse control, like he's 7.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh, I want to buy that. Oh, I want to buy that. Oh, I want to buy that. It's like, no, if you want to buy things, you can spend your allowance and we'll get you some Robux, and then you can buy stuff with your Robux. And when they're gone, they're gone. Which, 500 Robux won't buy you shit.
I mean, hell, 1,000 Robux is 100,000. $1,000 worth, I should say.
Yeah.
So that should tell you something. I mean, whew, right?
Yeah. There are definitely some fun, good experiences on there for kids. There's some educational stuff. My kid has found some games or experiences that he has favorited and likes to go back and play that have to do stuff with like the Titanic or, bridge building or whatever. I will give Roblox this, even though their tools maybe not their tools, but even though the game is simple, you can do a lot of robust things with it. Like you said, kind of like in that Minecraftian way. In Minecraft, you get some redstone and make some circuits and some gates, and you can do all kinds of crazy stuff. And Roblox has got some similar things that people have been able to put together.
But they've also have a lot of easy to access game development tools.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to go down the rabbit hole, but like I said, it's all proprietary stuff as well. So, yep. This kid went to camp to learn how to build Roblox experiences, and that doesn't really translate outside of just general game development terms and ideas to be able to do anything outside of this very walled garden. You're not going to be able to build something to put on Steam because you have to get completely different tools and learn those. Never mind, perhaps programming as well, depending on exactly what you're wanting to do. There are some just plug and play, easy to build stuff. If you're wanting to build something simpler, but right?
Yeah. So what's the part 2 to this?
Well, I was going to say one other thing is that I had no idea Roblox was this huge. I knew it was big, but damn, right?
Yeah, Roblox is gigantic.
And it was rather poignant whenever they started comparing it to Paying with Script.
Yeah.
But yeah, go watch the video. It's really enlightening. It should be in the show notes. If not, it's in the Roblox exploiting young game developers, right?
Yeah.
So the other one is Roblox is struggling to moderate recreations of mass shootings because, of course, they are, right?
Yep. You get enough people together in one, metaphorical room, you'll have some of those people show up.
Yeah. What was the idea? If you have an infinite number of monkeys typing on an infinite number of typewriters, they'll create Shakespeare. And
Yeah.
it turns out also all the mass shootings in the world. But the one in particular is the Christchurch one that they are having trouble moderating because the Christchurch mass shooting because it's Islamophobic. So there's assholes wanting to go shoot brown people, right? Never mind, right?
Yeah.
But also because it's a very general name, and it would filter a lot of religious stuff. They can't just filter out the name Christchurch because, right? And then they get into hot water for filtering religious stuff, and it's just. And I'm sure this is not the only mass shooting issue that they're having. It's just this is the one that the article is about.
Yeah. My kid has not played one of those games yet, but who knows?
I'll give him
Maybe
time.
someday.
But it also makes me kind of sad that it's so bad that they can't even filter it because there's so many of them popping up.
Yeah.
I mean, what little faith in humanity I had has taken a beating in the last year and a half.
18 months.
But this is just right?
Yeah. It is an adventure, an experience. I've thought about playing Roblox a couple times, looking for games that I would enjoy, and every time I'm like, nah, I've got better games, better things to spend my time on.
Yeah, you could always just go play Minecraft instead, right?
I could. I'm not going to.
Build your own Roblox with blackjack and hookers.
Absolutely.
Actually, I'm sure there's an experience somewhere for that.
Yep. So yeah, I don't just thinking here, I don't know what else to say about Roblox and the instances that it's in. Like, I think that it deserves it needs some scrutiny paid attention to it, but like when we were discussing in the pre-show, people only have so much energy to give to lawsuits, and we've got some major ones going on right now. That is not a segue. It would be a good segue, but it's not. We're not actually going to talk about any news articles in depth this week just because we're kind of burn out on them, but they still exist in the news. So if you want to know, you could Google them. But that brings us to our other sort of editorialized topic, which is two that we combined since they were similar, which is gaming restrictions come and go.
As they come, China, kids are limited to playing a whole 3 hours per week of online gaming.
Yep.
Oh, right.
Yep.
Good thing it's not gaming in general. Can you imagine playing a Kojima game?
You would never finish it.
Get through half a cutscene.
Yep, because it doesn't save. You'd have to start over the next time you played.
So this is China cracking down on online gaming because, that's what they have to deal with. Under new mandates, companies are barred from offering their services to children outside of a small window of time. Those under 18 can access online games only on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, and only between 8 and 9 p.m. According to the report, minors are also allowed to play during the same time on national holidays. So how generous of them, right? They get a fourth day if the national holidays, not one of those 3 days. The new rules also state that companies must make sure players are using their real names to sign on and must prevent individuals who don't use their don't use their true identity from logging on anyway. Because that's kind of the open secret in China is VPNs. China, there's the Great Firewall China, but VPNs have always been kind of the back door, and it's part of the culture of China is cheating to get ahead, or part of the Chinese culture. We've talked about this before when
Yeah.
we talked about cheating in Asian countries, but particularly China, is that the idea of bending and breaking the rules as long as you don't get caught. And VPNs have been kind of this backdoor that's been this open secret forever. So I really think this is just going to hurt those that do play along the rules. And right, it's just, whew.
Yeah. I don't. When I first saw this, the headline was something along the lines of like China bans kids from playing video games except 3 hours per week, which technically true, but the way that it's said makes it imply that they get to play video games one night.
This is online games. So your MMOs, ARPGs, MOBAs, that sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see how it goes. China is basically a totalitarian regime in all but name.
Yeah. I mean, they haven't gone full North Korea, but right.
Yeah.
It is also interesting. They also set a strict limit on the amount of microtransactions that a minor could pay in, between $28 and $57, depending on the child's age.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. And then the flip side of this, as adults, that could wind up limiting your access and your time. That could also, I mean, that would be extremely frustrating to have it dictated to you, like, hey, find time for your kids to do stuff during these hours on these days.
Yeah, never mind the fact that it is a set single hour. So, if something happens or, right?
Yeah.
Your 1 hour of free time, right?
Yeah. So, it
it's kind of funny how I know this is probably going to make you sad, but I'm going to go with it anyway. How the anti-vaxxers is talking about how the U.S. is going full totalitarianism whenever there's vaccine mandates and mask mandates. No, this is what a totalitarian regime looks like.
Yeah. Governing what you can and can't do during your free time on a whim.
And setting arbitrary limits for no other reason than we can. It's not saying allowing businesses to mandate a vaccine whenever businesses could mandate other vaccines, right?
Yeah.
Or bitching and moaning about your children having to get a COVID vaccine whenever, hey, guess what? There's only one state in the union that allows religious, complete religious exemptions from childhood vaccination, right?
Yeah.
Ugh.
But yeah, I mean, I suppose we'll just have to wait and see how this turns out in China, whether or not it'll be something that will garner them some backlash enough to press pause on it, or
they'll just
or change it.
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, China as a country is changing. Not all of those changes are good or desirable, but it is changing and making itself more and more open and accessible to other parts in the world. Surely we'll see some policy ideas bleed over. I expect we'll see some go the other direction too, for what is almost certainly probably worse.
I do have to wonder about the companies that have pushed so hard to get into China and have these big, massive, like first-person shooters. Suddenly have a good chunk of their possible user base get restricted to literally 3 hours a week. That have bent over backwards for the policies, changed, edited their games. Now, right?
Yeah.
A little bit of Schadenfreude, huh?
Yep. Too bad China's the single largest market in the entire world, so we won't see any repercussions for this from companies. Maybe some radio silence about it for a while. I mean, definitely, actually, some radio silence for a while. But
hey, on the flip side of things, South Korea is ending their curfew.
Yeah.
So, players under the age of 16 in South Korea have reasons to celebrate. The country plans to end its shutdown law that's prevented underage players from gaming between midnight and 6 a.m. So not nearly as restrictive, but at the same time, right?
Yeah. So let's see here. I didn't see this until we were getting ready to record, so I have a glance at the article. I didn't read through this one super in depth.
It's essentially the South Korean law prevented gaming overnight. So starting at midnight through 6 a.m., minors were not allowed to have to game. I think it's just in general. I could be mistaken on that one. I glanced through the article, but I didn't see anything about strictly online gaming.
Yeah. Let's see. Laws meant to prevent gaming addiction. At the very least, it gave kids a 6-hour block to get some sleep. Which gaming addiction, generally speaking, bullshit. No merits behind it. Addiction, people can become addicted to anything if the circumstances or their particular neuroses
what about getting addicted to accumulating addictions?
There's probably a name for that, a special name for that.
Bitch be crazy?
But I don't know it. Being addicted to addictions. Well, there's some... Google's giving me some information about addiction. Do you suffer from an addiction? Do you need help?
No, I need more addictions.
Google, you don't have enough degrees for me.
Don't mention degrees. You'll start saying, well, there's 360 degrees in a circle. And
yeah. I mean, if you were in counseling and you had multiple addictions, they would just be called comorbid.
Mm-hmm.
Until they figured out which one was the main sort of issue.
Yeah, it looks like this was targeted towards like cyber cafes and online gaming. Just from the brief article on this. I mean, it's kind of interesting that the more infamous South Korean one's going away just as China's pushing such a much stronger one, huh?
Yeah. Sometimes I walk a very fine line on these articles because personally, I think governments should mandate more things in more cases. And this could just particularly be a US thing because we have basically no consumer protection and very little regulation that's beneficial to anybody except people in power.
Yeah, and what regulation we have has been walked back so many times. Never mind that all those regulations have been written in blood.
Yeah. So
often multiple times.
I think kind of where the line is like, I don't mind governments making regulations on things as long as they're done in good faith. And China's is not being done in good faith. And maybe it sounds like Korea is saying like, you know what, we don't need this anymore. So we're just gonna chill out a minute. Like, I feel like that's a good faith thing as well. But yeah. I think that about covers it. I don't know. Do you have anything else?
Yeah, I mean, yay on South Korea, I guess.
Yeah.
Now you could play StarCraft into the wee early hours of the morning. Also, it would suck if you had a friend overseas that you wanted to play with, and time differences, right?
Yeah, that would suck.
So, that is it for Community Corner. If you wish to contact us, vglpodcast@gmail.com. Drop by the Twitter, VGL Podcast over there, or you go to the Discord and leave something there like Jim did this week. You can find a link to that over at vglpodcast.podbean.com.
Indeed. It's like you read... Well, I mean, that was the next natural place to go after our pause, but like you read my mind. That was what I was about to say.
Yeah, and that's the least 20 part of it, by the way.
Yeah.
So we're actually pretty early, so do you want to doobly-doo?
Yeah, we can doobly-doo for a discovery queue.
Okay, and I got, of course, my queue up and ready to go. So how about some Sprocket?
Go for it.
Sprocket, tank design. A tank designer / driver battle game where you go in, design a tank, go take it to battle, rinse, repeat. And it looks actually interesting. There's a fair amount of parameters that you could change on the tank, change its angles of armor, various tank treads, add different weapons. The trailer gives a lot more of it. Makes it look a lot more in-depth than what I'm giving it credit for. But yeah, early access in $20. So yeah,
Yeah. So I got Psychonauts 2. You
yeah,
and I talked about this
yeah,
a little bit on
yeah. I'm
Sunday.
playing that, and that was actually my next one on the queue. But go for it.
Yeah, it's available on Game Pass right now if you have Game Pass and you're listening to this. But I mean, it is the
Mhm.
sequel to Psychonauts, 3D sort of action platformer, where you are diving into people's minds and engaging in platforming and puzzles to help them solve whatever their psychological issues may be. I have heard pretty much nothing but good things about this game.
Yeah, I've been playing it. I'm most of the way through. I'll be talking about it next week. I hopefully should have finished it by then.
Yeah.
It's, for better or worse, a continuation of Psychonauts. It has a lot of the same problems that the original game did.
Yeah.
But it also improves on some of the things that the first game did really well. I'm not sure about $60, but that's just be taking pause at AAA pricing these days.
Yeah. So, yeah, looks neat, especially if you liked the first one. Seems promising. But
I would say just drop the money and play it on Game Pass, honestly.
yeah, you get a lot more stuff both on Game Pass and that is coming up. Anyways, carry on.
Oh, hang on. I'm that game looks like it's in very bad taste, so I'm going to skip it. Let's just put it this way. It's a simulator about being homeless. And it looks like it's in very, very bad taste.
Gotcha.
So I got, continuing on, Myst. Because,
Okay.
but that's what we needed, is another re-release of Myst, right?
Yep.
Gotta compete with Oblivion, I guess. Oh, sorry, Skyrim. Ugh. Sorry, I was thinking of a better Elder Scrolls game. I mean, what?
No, I just laughed at that. Carry on.
I mean, pretty much just a remaster of the original game. I'm not sure how much they changed gameplay-wise. It does have a VR and standard mode. I haven't actually played a ton of Myst in really any iteration. So, not sure just how they changed this. It does look like they are including a lot more language support with some more accessibility options. So, yeah. I mean, it's Myst. If you have any interest in one of the staples of PC gaming, well, there you go, right?
Yeah. So I got 12 minutes. 12 minutes is a sort of time loop game where you the player has to try to solve an event and keep yourself and your significant other from being like arrested or killed or something. It had kind of a cryptic trailer at E3. I've heard a little bit of positive buzz about the game so far, but
yeah, I watched
I am going to
the zero punctuation about it.
Yeah, I'm going to play it. Maybe even buy it, depending on where it turns up.
I believe it's coming out on Game Pass.
Okay, sweet. Then yeah, I'll be playing it on Game Pass. I'm very interested in this game.
Pretty sure it's either coming out or it's out on Game Pass.
Yeah, so beyond sort of its Groundhog Day, like, repeating the same day or time period over and over again, it has got like its other sort of big, I don't know, claim to fame or whatever is its voice cast. So they got James McAvoy,
It's
Daisy
on it
Ridley
already. It came out already.
Oh, on Game Pass?
Yeah, it's on Game Pass.
Fucking A, dude. Hell yeah. Installing that to play this week. But anyways, it's James McAvoy, Daisy Ridley, and Willem Dafoe. Willem Dafoe, in my mind, the best part of that game. The man is a legend. One of the greatest of all time of just being a weird, over-the-top actor. And then Daisy Ridley, obviously, the start. Well, maybe not obviously if you as a listener doesn't pay attention to film stuff, but she was Rey in the latest Star Wars trilogy, and then James McAvoy has done a ton of stuff. The thing that I know him most for is being Professor X in the newer X-Men movies, starting with whichever went back to the 60s. First Class, I believe. But I mean, James
Days of,
McAvoy is
and then there's Days of Future Past as well.
yeah. But I mean, James McAvoy is an excellent actor in pretty much everything I've ever seen him in. So,
And also the butt of one of my favorite Deadpool jokes.
yeah.
What? Whenever Deadpool's being told he's going to go see the professor, he's asked, Stewart or McAvoy?
Right. Nice. So yeah, anyways, yeah. All-Star voice cast looks like a fun and interesting game. Can't wait to play it.
Well,
right.
Well, obviously you have been because it's been out on Game Pass for a week or two now.
I didn't realize it was on Game Pass. Like sometimes I just miss stuff and like, the new releases or the recent releases.
Well, it was in between Train Sim World 2, Humankind, Recompile, and the Quake remakes.
Yeah, recently added.
That's a hell of a lineup, huh?
Yeah.
Of course, we know the real star of the show there is that Microsoft Solitaire Collection, though.
Absolutely. 11 out of 10. Greatest of all time. Best video game ever.
I'm kind of on like a retro theme, so or a reimagining of classics. Even though this isn't a classic, it's a genre that's on the resurgence. Black Geyser, Couriers of Darkness. Looks like a rather hardcore CRPG with modern sensibilities as well. There's been quite the resurgence of it lately, of this genre. Between the Wasteland series, obviously Divinity Original Sin. Oh shit, I'm blanking on
the new Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, the new Baldur's Gate. I'm blanking the one we played on Gameclub. Tyranny. That one as well. I mean, we're seeing kind of a new renaissance for CRPGs. So, yeah, there's another one for you. It's early access, so that's a big red flag right now. Because, right?
Yeah.
That's a major issue with RPGs is that we saw it in Divinity Original Sin where the first part of the game is polished to a pristine finish. And then, the last part that just didn't have, the year or two of early access, felt a lot rougher. So hopefully this doesn't, have that same feel to it. It does look like they're planning on 3 major phases, and they're still in the first phase. With the next phase adding quite a bunch of content. And how long is this going to be? They're planning to release the full version in the first quarter of next year. But, yeah. Right, that's very ambitious. Hope they make it, but at the same time, wow, right?
Yeah. So I got Jurassic World Evolution 2.
Yeah, I just got that one as well, but go for it since you played the first one.
Yeah, so I mean, the first one is a Jurassic Park builder, essentially. And it adds missions and different islands and yada yada. So, some stuff for you to work towards to unlock and whatnot. Overall, a pretty solid park building game. Plays pretty much exactly like how you would expect it to. The dinosaur theming is what makes it special and interesting. The official Jurassic Park / Jurassic World license. And this is a sequel to that game made by Frontier Development. So the guys that did Elite Dangerous, but more in this genre, they did, was it Parkitect? They did a generic, theme park builder, which a lot of people seem to really love.
I think it's Parkitect because the other one is Roller Coaster World, and right. Planet Zoo as well. That might be the one you're thinking of. Oh no, they did Planet Coaster. So, Planet Coaster was kind of the more just designer instead of the uh, business management, more in depth one like the old roller coaster tycoons were.
Yeah.
So, just lousy with the DLC as well. Same with Planet Zoo, it seems. So, yeah. Actually, I'm a little surprised that Jurassic World Evolution didn't have a ton of DLC on it. I know I had some, but not to the degree that Planet Coaster did.
Yeah.
Well, never mind. I must have misread it because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different DLCs. $77 worth. I must have just skipped over that entire section of their... they're paradoxing their games. They've gone full paradox. So I'm coming up a little dry this week, so I'm diving into a sports game. It honestly looks like it's from, the early 2000s. Axis Football 2021. There's not a lot of options for American football, especially on PC outside of Madden. So it's nice to see someone trying to take it on.
Yeah.
Graphically, it's not very impressive, but supposedly it actually plays pretty well. At least according to the previous one. I saw reviews for that one. And it's a hell of a lot cheaper as well. $30 compared to Madden being, $70 now?
Yes.
So if you don't mind it not having the NFL license and being just, doused with DLC and microtransactions, well, right?
Yeah. Oh, I just got Sprocket, which that was your first one, right?
Mm-hmm.
That looks legit. I'm into that.
All right, well, I got one last one, but let me know if you hit something. You got two of my ones as I pulled them up, so.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that was my cue for this week. Pretty slim pickets as well. I got 3.
Well, my last one is Tetris Effect Connected. So, a multiplayer-focused expansion to Tetris Effect. So, right?
Yeah.
I didn't really care much for Tetris Effect, but I think it's a combination of not being particularly good at Tetris and it being incredibly flashy.
Yeah.
It just felt overly distracting to me. And, the whole idea of it was, being very flashy, being over the top, so, right?
Yeah.
But supposedly there's a new co-op and competitive online modes in this one, so, right? But, that's my cue done.
All right. Cool beans. Well, then, hey, Rage, hit them with the socials.
Well, I've been Caffeine Rage. You can find me on Twitter, Gaming with CR, where I bitch about the weather. Or if you wish to be my friend on Steam, you can find me Caffeine Rage. And you've been?
Gaming Psychologist. You can find me on the YouTubes by searching for such. Find me over on Twitter at JMA4707, where I could talk about many things, but oftentimes just shitpost. Can find me on Runic Arts Twitch stream every week, where I play in a Vampire the Masquerade game, playing as just the worst character in the game. In our last session that we played, I took joy, gleefully mutilated someone in front of their spouse. So and described
your
it
character
in
was
detail.
kind of a dick as well.
Then my character was also kind of a jerk that session. So no, if any of those things interest you, you can look me up. I usually post on my Twitter as well. If you're like, oh, I can't remember that it's Runic Arts, then you just remember at JMA4707. I post reminders there too.
And bitching about people in your state.
And that too. Idiots.
Well, if you wish to contact us, once again, it's VGLpodcast@gmail.com with your letters, voicemails, game-related topics. Tweet us at VGL Podcast or drop by the Discord, which you can find over at VGLpodcast.podbean.com. And if you wish to share the love, you can find us on your podcatcher of choice. And we wish to thank our patrons, patreon.com/VGL Podcast, for help paying for this absolute madness. And, well, Jared's not sorry, but he has no shame. He has less shame than his character, which is saying something.
Indeed.
Our intro and outro music is On the Ground, and our Discovery Key music is Doobly Doo, both by Kevin McLeod, both of which can be found over at Incompetech.com. And
As always, as this lovely music starts to roll across my voice, bye now.
see you next time.
Bye-bye.